archipelago of sea and sand. Now break down the acronym like you in class. Oh, they're selling the whole country. Ooh, they're selling I never been down with no OPP. I talk about selling our people's property. Don't know who doing it, so don't round me out. Don't send no police round me and tell me shush my mouth. Where's our conviction? But where's our pride? We selling everything, selling our backside. Just go online, it'll make you sick. You can buy any island, just point and click. See, they're selling our country, yes, they're selling our land. They're selling our archipelago of sea and sand. Now break down the acronym like you in class. Oh, they're selling the whole country. Ooh, they're selling Hey, hey. Ride him. My mother always say, when you find a donkey, ride it. Who's donkey? Man, come on. We got a whole nation in 73. Now we getting back the whole country. What kind of fools we must be, selling out for a bag of rice and a cup of tea. You know what does bug me? Help me understand. I can't find piece of property for under 80 grand. But I can fix this, I know what to do. I can squat just like them other people try make me do. See, they're selling our country, yes, they're selling our land. They're selling our archipelago of sea and sand. Now break down the acronym like you in class. Oh, they're selling the whole country. Ooh, they're selling They're selling our country. Ooh, they're selling our land. They're selling our archipelago of sea and sand. Now break down the acronym like you in class. Oh, they're selling the whole country. Ooh, they're selling Everybody sells some every night. Giddy up, giddy up. Come on. Oh, donkey. Oh, donkey. Let's go. Who's the donkey again? They're selling one island. Give away one key. What can be left for you and me? Is this the example? What's our kids to do? You want them have a sense of pride or go selling too? Cause they're selling our country, yes, they're selling our land. They're selling our archipelago of sea and sand. Now break down the acronym like you in class. Oh, they're selling the whole country. Ooh, they're selling They're selling.
So when we come back, we're going to talk with Lincoln Bain and let him introduce all that's happening here today on this live program. After these words.
Always stay tuned in with Peace 107.5 FM. You can find us on mixlr.com,
Free commercials and then come back with the Rise program. That's what they use in Rise, you know.
1075.
That's all we have, Rise.
I don't know how you did this in 50 years. You look at history. who does this? Show me anybody else that has done this in 50 years. I'm waiting. Show them to me. This wasn't done by money. Money doesn't produce visions. Visions produce money. You've had leadership over here that were visionaries, great visionaries, and their vision was more about the people than the money, because you can't accomplish this in 50.
Tuesday, June the 25th, live at 5, only on Hard Copy. Seven minutes behind the hour, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. This is Lincoln Being Live, and he's coming at you. Has all the information that you need to know on NIB and other matters of national interest right here today at 5. We're going to be until 6:30 this afternoon, and then we'll come back on with the last word at about 6:30 about. Lincoln Bean is now ready to go, live in living color. So how are you?
Good afternoon, Bahamas, and welcome. This is Lincoln Bain Live. We are broadcasting from all over the world right now. We are broadcasting on Facebook, on the Lincoln Bain page, on the Bahamian Evolution page, and on the Coalition of Independence page. This week, we're on YouTube. We're only broadcasting on the Lincoln Bain page because 2 weeks ago, we had a conversation about, that topic that they always used to blank you out about, that thing you put in your arm to avoid you from getting that thing that was going around. And because we mentioned and discussed that, they blocked us for 2 weeks from being able to for a week, but they didn't start it when they were supposed to. And so we're blocked for another 5 days on YouTube from being able to broadcast live there, only because we brought up that V word. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the censorship is still ongoing, so you won't be able to get us on the normal Bahamian Evolution or Coalition of Independence page, but you can go to Lincoln Bain and get us on YouTube. All right, you can also get us on Hard Copy on Facebook, and you can also get us on Peace 94, Peace 107.5 FM on Facebook. The both of those pages. Today, you can also get us on Lincoln Bean Instagram, and you can get us on X. A lot of people in the United States are watching there, and on LinkedIn. So we are everywhere. But ladies and gentlemen, on top of all of that, you can get us live this and every Sunday on 107.5 Peace FM. Many people don't have social media, and so now you can also go to your radio and you can get us live on radio. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to have a really good conversation today. There's a lot to talk about, but the main thing we want to talk about today is national insurance and what everyone has been discussing over the last few days with national insurance and what the Free National Movement did. I decided to speak to the experts on this. This is something that I actually warned the Bahamian public that happened. I spoke to you about this from last year when I saw the investments that were going on, and people just didn't pay attention. Keith Bell brought it up, and so now we're all talking about it. But ladies and gentlemen, the Free National Movement sold off all of our foreign, meaning U.S. stocks, all right? And I'm going to break this down for you. And because I have a very special guest that I want to talk about this, we want to hear from the experts on this. Um, and so we went to one of the foremost experts in the United States to really talk about this, and he's going to be live on this show right now. He's already backstage waiting to get on here. He's looked at this, and this whole thing is laughable. What the government is doing, it's shocking and laughable from a professional standpoint. But ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman I'm going to introduce to you in a minute, all right. He is, like I said, he's an expert. He's been trading and managing money for nearly 30 years. He's worked in Merrill Lynch as a money manager. Merrill Lynch is the probably the biggest financial company that there is out there. They are now owned by Bank of America, and they have $3.55 trillion in management. And so he's worked with Merrill Lynch as a money manager and wealth advisor. He is also a professor of finance for 20 years. He works at the University of Central Florida. And he's also an investment advisor and private client money manager for the past 11 years, and senior market analyst for the past 15 years. And so I'm going to introduce him in a minute as I kind of lay everything out for you so that you can know what exactly is going on. And we're going to have this conversation because it seems like we keep electing people who don't know what they're doing. And it seems to be that politicians keep putting people in place who don't know what they're doing. And this country is not working. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to have to say this the way it is, but people around the world already know, and they're seeing this. Only us are not paying attention. At this point, the Bahamas is a failed state. And I say this on behalf of all Bahamians, but on behalf of the people in Eleuthera right now who are suffering with no utilities, no electricity, no water, no internet, or cable or phone. The people of Eleuthera, the first capital of the Bahamas. The people of Eleuthera. A failed state is a country whose government is considered to have failed at some of its basic responsibilities. For example, keeping the legal system working correctly and providing public services, that is, i.e., electricity, water, education, hospitals, etc. Based on this definition, the Bahamas is a failed state. And so we have to be real and we have to talk about this. Every election cycle, we hire people and they show their qualifications and they brag and say, look at this dream team. Look at how skilled they are. Oh, these some good fellas. Look at, they worked here, they worked there, they did this, they did that. And then they come and fail us and then we're surprised. And it happens every time there's a cycle of this. And we don't understand what's going on. But we'll get to that in a minute. You know what to do when you get on here. If you're on Facebook, do your @followers, your @highlight, and you share to make sure that this gets out there. All right, because this is not going to automatically be shared, and you know why. All right, so we're gonna get right to this. This show is going to be here live. Like I said, every week it's going to be an hour and a half, so I have to be more disciplined with my time. No, normally we go over whenever we feel like, but of course this is radio now, so I have to be more disciplined in how I do things. And so we're looking forward to doing talking for a certain amount of time, and then letting you talk for a certain amount of time, and then we'll be out of here. All right. So, but ladies and gentlemen, I also want to say, I'll start by talking about what a Ponzi scheme is. A Ponzi scheme is a type of investment fraud in which investors are promised big profits at little or no risk. The money is not invested. Rather, the scam artist concentrates on attracting more investors. A growing number of victims is needed to pay out the supposed profits being distributed to earlier investors. Let me repeat this for you, because in my opinion, by definition, what I'm seeing, NIB looks like a Ponzi scheme. A Ponzi scheme is a type of investment fraud in which investors are promised big profits. In other words, we're paying into it and we're promised that we will get paid out if we get sick, or in the end, if we retire at a certain age, and that age is now getting pushed forward, pushed further away. And so we were promised something in the end at little to no risk. The money is not invested. Well, when the government sells all the U.S. investment, that means that they are pointing towards being a Ponzi scheme. Rather, the scam artist concentrates on attracting more investors. We need more people to prop this up, or we need more money from these people, or we need to push back their investment, or let's bring in more people from outside of the country so that we can get more national insurance. Make sure those new people sign up for NIB quickly. And if you go to NIB now, all you see is new people, a new ethnicity sign up for NIB. A growing number of victims is needed to pay out the supposed profits being distributed by early investors. So based on that, I am going to go out to say, in my opinion, that's what NIB looks like. It looks like a Ponzi scheme. And so we'll get a professional opinion on that. Ladies and gentlemen, all of you have been watching the news. I won't go over exactly what's happening with NIB. You know that the FNM sold off all of our U.S. stocks. Now, here's where it comes in. How do insurance companies work? Insurance company makes money from premiums or contributions that you pay to them. They also make money from investments. That's the two ways they make money as insurance companies. Also, the insurance companies kind of underwrite some of their risks by dealing with a big insurance company to underwrite for them, so they don't have to take much risk for payouts. But the two ways they make money is what I just told you. The most important way is by investment. There is no way that insurance can solely by just taking your money in, holding it for a certain period of time, and just giving it back to you, that they're going to have enough money from just what you pay, your contributions, to be able to pay you out. For example, if you have a $500,000 insurance and you calculate the amount of payments that you're going to make, let's say you don't die for the full period, you still would not have paid $500,000 into that insurance. That's not how insurance works. Insurance takes your money with other people's money in a pool. Now they have a big amount of money that they can invest, and they invest that money and multiply it so that when you make your claim, that they can have the money to pay you out. All right. And sometimes they don't have to pay anything out, because you may have different types of insurance where, there's different situations. I don't want to go into the insurance. National insurance is a type of insurance, because you're forced to pay this amount of money, and in some instances you're paying more than you would normally pay for health or life insurance. And that's shocking a lot of people when they look at their national insurance payments. For example, this person here that sent me their slip, they work in the hotel, and so their national insurance, they normally pay. This pay period was about just over $100. All right, say $110. They said they normally pay about $145, almost $150 normally. All right, one is their Gratz NIB, because they have to pay NIB on their tips. Can you imagine that? And the other one is their regular NIB. And so they say normally they pay $145 to $150 per pay period for their NIB. All right, that's per week. All right, every Thursday. That means that person is actually, if they're paying $150 a week, that's correct, yeah, $150 a week, they're actually paying $600 per month for NIB. You don't pay that for health insurance. You don't pay that for life insurance. That's another mortgage. So, all right, let's say they only pay half of that. That's $300 a month just for NIB. And what do you get back? What do you get back? That doesn't add up. All right. And so you pay all of this money. And if you're watching online, you can actually see the documentation I'm putting on the screen. Um, but you pay all of this money, and what do you get back in the end? All right. And so the NIB is supposed to be taking your money and investing it. But what has been happening, and we've done other lives, and I can send a link to you, but what has been happening is NIB has been taking our money and investing it in things that we really can't benefit from. So they have 1.5 to 1.7 or $6 billion, all right, in assets, but those are not liquid assets. And liquid means that they can get used to pay out people. And so, like when COVID came, they wanted to make payments. They didn't have cash. They had to do something because their assets weren't liquid. And so, one of the things they did was sell off our assets, in order to get some liquid. Um, but that's the situation. They were supposed to be investing it, and if they were investing it properly, they would have been liquid. And I'll let a financial expert explain that to you in a minute. And so um, uh, they sold off the good investment, which is investments in companies like Alphabet, which is Google, Facebook, etc., etc. And now there's none. That they don't have the good assets. Let me put this in perspective for you. There's no way that they should be expecting, because the insurance industry doesn't do it, to pay us out from contributions. This shows that we don't have sensible people or professionals in this industry. We don't have people with the know-how. Because if you're saying we have to increase national insurance because we don't have enough contributions to pay out what we have to pay out, then you're failing. You clearly don't understand the insurance industry. You don't understand insurance industry and investment. You're supposed to be investing that money safely so that you can pay out later. And so their whole paradigm is wrong. And this is why we need a whole paradigm shift in this country and leaders who can think here. One of the biggest problems that we have with this whole thing, ladies and gentlemen, is that the people who are investing the money is the problem. I want you to think about this, and then I'm gonna let my guests get into this conversation. The biggest problem that we have with this investing is that the person's investing should not be investing this money. I want you to understand that. This so-called board that they have, why are they investing this money? Why do you have um, a group of Bahamians, most of whom have no experience in investing, invest in this money? Because that's when you're going to have people who make these kinds of shorty decisions. And I'm going to let you hear from an expert who's going to tell you if I'm right that this is a shorty deal or not. All right. And so, what am I on? Is this the right one? Okay, I'm on the wrong document. I was sharing a document. I want you to see these people who are part of this whole thing. Give me one. I'm just putting this up for you, for those who can see it. They have people on here who are investing the money, and I'll tell you why it's a problem. All right, because if a politician comes in and puts his people, and so if you're online, you can see this. All right, they have the board. All right, and on this board, I'm going to read the committees. The board makes up some committees, and one of these committees is the investments committee. So the investments committees come from the board of directors. All right. And so from that board, they made a committee, and the chairman of the committee is Keith Beneby. Now, Keith Beneby he's a banker, all right. But of course, I don't know. He is a relationship manager for the bank. That's his experience. Of the people on the board, I would want him on this board, all right. So just to be clear with that, because he's a banker. Then you have Jeffrey Stewart. Jeffrey Stewart. Jeffrey Stewart is not a financial person as far as I know. Jeffrey Stewart, he works with a different kind of company. He's an operations assistant at Arawak Stevedoring Company, right? Limited. So I don't know what his experience is. He's on that board because a politician put him there, most likely. Then there's Marcus Grammatico, and so he works with a company that does some things. I'll leave that there. And then there's Claretta Duncombe, Gina Sweeting Moss, and Teresa Mortimer. All right. This was the investment committee, and the investment committee's job is to decide on the investments of National Insurance Board. There's 6 people. Their job is to manage our 1.6 or $7 billion and determine what to do with this money. All right. So you got 6 people, and their job is to do that. There should never be a situation where the politicians have a board that's running NIB, and the same board that is running NIB is investing the money. Actually, you should hire an investment company, and this investment company should be the one to this management analyst company, whatever you want, a financial advisor company. They should be the ones to invest our money, separate, independent of us, not pushing the money where we want to put it, but making sound investments, like Dubai did, like Qatar did, like Norway did. So Norway, during the same period, from the same stocks basically that we dumped, Norway made $250 billion with a B during the same lockdowns. They made $250 billion, free money from nowhere, because they invested the money. We dumped all of our investment. I'll leave that there, and I'm going to invite an expert to join me in this conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said before, because I see a lot of you have just joined this broadcast, the gentleman I'm about to introduce to you is in trading and managing money for nearly 30 years. He's worked in Merrill Lynch as a money manager and wealth advisor. Merrill Lynch is one of the biggest in the world, or the biggest. They have $3.55 trillion with a T worth of assets that they are managing. He's a professor of finance for 20 years. So he's a financial, not just a trader, a licensed, certified stockbroker, etc. Licensed, a real one. He's also a professor of finance for 20 years. I know him to work at University of Central Florida. Investment advisor and private client money manager for the past 11 years. And he's a senior marketing analyst for the past 15 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Charles Green.
Thank you, Lincoln. And
welcome to the Bahamas.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, my brother. I just want to say welcome. It's always good to have you here. I know about your skills. Charles Green, I will tell everybody, is responsible for my little certification in trading and advising me on some of what I've done. And it's helped me to survive, especially through this political storm, because I can't do retail anymore because of politics, because they go after you. But with trading, they can't touch or know what I have. And so I really thank you for how you've contributed to that.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you, Lincoln.
All right. So I think you've heard the things that I've been saying. I know you vacation in the Bahamas and all over the world a lot. And you've seen what's been going on. Well, the latest story is that our previous government has sold off all of our U.S. stocks for national insurance. The excuse was there was some foreign reserves. They put an article out there where the central bank said they need to make sure they keep as much foreign reserves as possible, and so they used that was a suggestion, and they used it as an excuse to sell off all of the U.S. stocks, all of it, every cent. And the other excuse was that they needed some liquidity. I think you've had a chance. Have you had a chance to look at the stocks that they've sold off?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so based on the stocks that they've sold off, do you think that it was advisable, that it was a good idea? Do you think it was even sensible?
Completely opposite of what should have been done. Just to put this in perspective, after the pandemic began in year 2000, leading up into the first quarter, thereafter, you had some sell-off in the market. You had high-quality stocks. Those are the first stocks that recovered, and the market did recover a year later to go to all-time highs. So that was a huge opportunity cost. More importantly, it made your financial position more insolvent because you can't go back, turn back the clock, and get those gains that you missed out on. So that was the complete opposite of what you really should have done during that period of time. It's very short-sighted. There's a time to sell, and there's a time to buy. You have to know the difference between that. And the average novice or someone who's not knowledgeable about markets, experts in how markets evolve over time, managing and assessing risk and navigating through that type of market condition will make bad decisions. And there's a consequence for that, and it's insolvency. You are not as strong as you could have been had other decisions been made, even if you didn't sell off the whole portfolio. I'm going to give you some examples, just a few of them that I looked at. From the time of when the pandemic began to date, you have 100% return or more in the following stocks. The NASDAQ, which is the leadership index, and mostly technology stocks and fast growth stocks, is up over 100%. The Apple computer is up over 150%. Meta Universe, which is the old Facebook, up over 150%. Google, Costco, all of those positions that were sold off were up either 100 or 150% since that period of time. And remember, they recovered less than a year after the pandemic began.
Wow.
So that's opportunity cost, and a huge opportunity cost at that. And it's put you in a worse position than you could have been today had those decisions not been made. It really should be left up to someone who understands the market dynamics of it and how it evolves over time. When is the best time to sell? When is the best time to buy? What positions to buy and what positions to sell? You can't do that off the cuff. You have to have experience and knowledge in doing that and understanding both fundamentals and technicals in the market. Unless you have that expertise, you're bound to make bad decisions and ones that have consequences.
Wow. So when the Free National Movement sold off all of our U.S. stock, that was a bad time to sell.
Absolutely worst time.
Wow. And one of the reasons is because there's support and resistance in the market. So for those who understand trading, and support means the lowest point that the market is going to go to, and then it's going to bounce back up. And then resistance is when it reaches to the top, and then it's going to go back down because the stock moves in waves. All stocks move in waves. And if it's down, you don't sell at that point. So let's say you want to sell a house and it's a bad time to sell a house because the market is down for houses. Your house is only worth about $100,000 now. Don't sell it now. Your house could be worth $250,000 soon. So you hold it until it gets there, and then that will be a better time to sell. But don't sell it because the pandemic came and caused the market to go down for a short minute. You need to wait until it goes up. If they had waited till it goes up, like the numbers that Mr. Green just said, I mean, those are phenomenal numbers. I mean, 100 to 150%. That means whatever our reserves were that they were holding on or responsible for, it would have been 100 or 150% more.
Yes.
That is mind blowing. That is absolutely mind blowing. I know that. Go ahead.
The other aspect of this is the quality of stocks that were held. They were the highest quality stocks. So those are the ones that recover quickest when you're coming out of a pullback in the market for whatever reason that might be. So those certainly should not have been sold. Those aren't speculative stocks. Those were solid companies that had growth potential, had catalysts behind the growth going forward, And it's evidenced by the performance that they've had over the last few years.
So even if they had sold just some of the stock, like let's say they were, it's based on the numbers I have. Let me pull it up on the screen here. Let me pull up, excuse me, exactly what they did. Because based on what they had, which is also, I mean, shocking. They only had about $20 million in stocks out of $1.6 billion in asset. They only had about $20 million in U.S. stocks. And that's a rule that they put in place. Let me go to page 53. And they can't be serious about, investment if that's all they're investing. I mean, that's
To
not
add to
even. Go ahead.
a firm, given the circumstances in the market and the liquidity that they had, because if they only had 20 million invested, they had obviously some liquidity. The 20 million that was created from selling oils didn't create a lot of liquidity relative to what they've already had. The correct response to that market event would have been buy more when the market was down. And then not only do you have 100% return, you may have 200 or 300% return.
Exactly. Let me say that in English for my listeners. So if they had 20, as you can see it on the screen now, they had 20, I mean, large net, 20.998. So $21 million in stocks. So them saying that they needed this money because they needed to be liquid, this didn't help them. $20 million is nothing. And so that excuse doesn't hold any water. All right, because if they spent a certain amount of millions, that this was nothing. And so what they should have done, if the market is down, that's an opportunity to buy. And so they should have spent more money on this, invested more money, and then we would have been in a better situation. And the reason, guys, that I say that this is not what they needed the money for, was not the liquidity issues at the time. The reason I say that is because the IDB gave the Bahamas $250 million to deal with COVID. You seem to forget that. The IDB gave us $250 million. According to the Minister of State for Finance at the time, they used about $177 million. So if you got the $250 million, where did that money go? You understand? And the IDB was asking the government to account for that $250 million. And the government was refusing to do so. That made the news over and over. You would all remember that. And so where did the $250 million go? So you took the $250 million. You didn't tell us what you spent that on. And now this is the $20 million. You didn't tell us that you ever did this. There was nothing in the papers. The budget debates said nothing about you selling off all of our U.S. Stocks in NIB. There was no pronouncement, no media release. None of the board of directors said anything about this. There was nothing to say that you did this. And so if you want so I just wanted to make that clear. Now, if you want to be able to cover your expenses like normal insurance companies do, investing just $20 million, that's not going to do it. I mean, what's your opinion on that, Mr. Green?
Absolutely, 100%. I think the biggest tragedy here is not the fact that they sold off the existing portfolio at the worst possible time, is that they did not take advantage of the best opportunity that you've had in the last 15, 20 years to get some very high quality stocks at very discounted prices. And imagine where that portfolio would be today if they'd done that. Wow.
Yeah, and so one of the problems we have in our country is nepotism that we have in our politics, and it continues. When you get off here, I'm going to show where a lot of the money went. Well, and I'll show them now.
If you had people in positions that understood the market and the opportunity, it'd have been a much different outcome than what you have right now. I think that's where the problem is. The investment process doesn't begin when you put the money up to invest. It's with the people who make those decisions.
Wow. So what I want to do is I'm going to show persons another graphic. That was the 2020 numbers, and the government was in power until the end of 2021, so September. So for most of the year, I want to show you everyone the numbers from 2021, so we can kind of get an idea of where a lot of this stuff went, a lot of this money went. And so here's another concern of mine. And so, one, we still don't have those US stocks back. This is up to 2021, the last documentation that we have out there for NIB. The new government took over, and there's been no reporting yet. So we don't know what is going on with NIB since 2021. But at last report, it sounds like it's still the case. There's still no US stocks at all. Okay. Yeah, there's still no US stocks at all in our portfolio. But something strange happened here. Let's zoom in on here. So this is 2020 and this is 2021. So it looks like what the government did. This is what it appears in the face of it. Because these are Bahamian companies. Some of these companies are known to be owned by certain persons connected to politics. So where they had $10 million worth of Bahamas waste stocks in 2020, they had 14, might as well say 15 million, because it's 14.9, 15 million in Bahamas waste stocks. Who owns Bahamas waste? Does Brent Simonette own Bahamas waste? Brent Simonette, do you own Bahamas waste? Yes, I think you own Bahamas waste, Brent Simonette. And so the stocks here is now $15 million. That's how it looks. I'm sorry. I said the absolute wrong thing. That's not Bahamas waste. That is Bank of the Bahamas. My screen was a little twisted there. Sorry about that. That's Bank of the Bahamas. So the shares of Bank of Bahamas, it went up a little bit. I don't know what this is with Bahamas waste, but that's negligible. Bank of Bahamas went from 10 million to 15 million. Sorry, I was saying the wrong thing. Let me just highlight this so I can say the right thing. Commonwealth Bank went from 12 to 10 million. Now, this is the one I want everyone to see. Commonwealth Brewery, they had 14 million in shares in Commonwealth Brewery in 2020. And all of a sudden, they got like 12 million more. They got $26 million in Commonwealth Brewery shares. So it looks like you took shares from the US stock and then you put them in some other stocks. And one of these stocks is Commonwealth Brewery. Now, Charles, as a foreigner, you won't know what that means, but Commonwealth Brewery is you can call it a liquor company. They make beers. And they brew beers in the Bahamas. And so they are, connected people with connections to that company, with shares in the company. And so they dumped, this is how it appears, based on what I'm seeing. They dumped US stocks, and now we see 12 million more in Commonwealth Brewery. That can't be just on the value because Commonwealth Brewery didn't raise that much during that period. During 2020, Commonwealth Brewery shares were worth 11.01%. All right? Sorry, $11.01. All right? During 2021, their shares was $11.20. So that will not give you $12 million in value. All right? And so either someone is mixing up the books here, or something is odd, or it seems like some of that money went from the US stocks into some other stocks. We see, if Finance Corporation of Bahamas Limited increase a little bit. First Caribbean increased a little bit. Focal remained the same. Jace Johnson was basically the same. All right. And so this is what the question is now. So these companies, what's the benefit? Based on your experience in finances and what you're seeing here, does it appear similar to what I'm seeing? We can't say that's what it is, but does it appear like you sold the U.S. stocks and put it into Bahamian companies?
Yeah. That sort of action doesn't compute in my mind. That's if it's your goal to maximize the opportunities, growth, and returns, and at the same time limit the amount of risk, then you're looking for and seeking the best opportunities where they exist. That doesn't exclude Bahamian stocks, but it also includes U.S. stocks, not completely devoid of that, because as it turned out, as you know, a lot of the big growth companies, and we named some of them which they sold and never bought back, are in the U.S. If you're ignoring that opportunity, then you're really cutting yourself short in terms of what the possibility is for growing those funds for the benefit of the Bahamian people.
Wow. And what is most egregious about that particular stock there, I will say, is that national insurance is about our health. National insurance is about you living and what happens when you retire. But that's a liquor company. That's a company that deals with, something that we know is bad for your health. So how do we take our money that's supposed to be safeguarding our health and putting it into a company that could be hurting our health? That is the problem.
I equate, and I hope I'm not being too critical, just objective, as a massive misallocation of resources.
Yeah.
And failure of leadership.
Yeah. And so I agree with that. I agree with that. And also, very, very concerning is that BPL, Bahamas Power and Light. Well, before I go there, another thing that our money has been invested in, Mr. Green, is buildings that we cannot make money from. Our national insurance money, which is supposed to be to pay us off a pension when we get to 60, then it increased to 65. Now they want to increase it to 67. That money was used to build clinics that we can't get a payback for. It's been used to build buildings like the Attorney General's office, for example, like a Ministry of Education, these other kinds of buildings. It's been used for these kinds of things. And that is why we have basically $1.56 billion in assets that we can't get any liquid from. Is that wise to you as a financial advisor?
No, not at all. The goal for a pension plan is sustainability, and you can only get that through growth. Otherwise, every decision that you make that countermands that goal of growing the pension fund and make it sustainable is contributing to the insolvency eventually of that fund. It grows weaker, not stronger, when you're making bad decisions on investments that could grow and sustain that fund over time. That doesn't make sense to me, Lincoln.
Wow. But that's what continues to happen, and that's another reason why it's illiquid. But guess what? Because of their bad decisions, we have to pay for it because they're raising NIB by 1.5% now, and every 2 years it's going to be raising more and more and more until at the end of the day, it's going to be 25% of our salaries taken out for national insurance in order for it to be feasible.
That's the penalty everyone's paying for lack of prudent decisions regarding investments that would sustain that fund and grow it. In fact, you could have the opposite case where you can actually lower the cost of funding, that premiums could go down if you were properly managing that fund.
Wow. And so they're also lending our national insurance money to government entities. One of the entities they've lent our national insurance money to is BPL, also known as BEC, Bahamas Power and Light, the electricity company. Now, the electricity company is $500 million in debt, bad debt that they can't pay. And so why would you lend to a good money, our good money that we need to get paid out very shortly, to a company that can't pay you back? Obviously, they can't pay you back because they've never paid back their legacy debt. And so this clearly, in your advice, is this a bad deal?
Absolutely, it is. You don't throw good money for bad. And if the pension plan is already at risk, you don't put it at greater risk by making decisions like that.
So during May, the fund reinvested $13.3 million. Sorry, 13.3 million US dollars for US dollar loan facility provided to Bahamas Power and Light. All right. So again, it looks like you sold off your US stock and took a part of it to give a loan to Bahamas Power and Light.
Totally counterproductive, Lincoln.
This is mind blowing. All right, this is mind blowing.
Because you're missing out on opportunity. It's a big opportunity cost that you're paying for making bad decisions.
Wow. Loans to Bahamas government entities in 2020. All right. Ministry of Environmental Health got $9.8 million. And I thought everyone could see this on the screen. I'm so sorry. Let me put this up on the screen for persons who want to see this, because I always present proof when I'm saying something. It is. It should be on the screen. Let me make sure. Okay, let me put it up on the screen to make sure everyone can see what I'm saying. Loans to Bahamas government entities. This is the same time they sold off all of our US stock. So you sold off, and I want you to see what I just showed you. They sold off our US stock and then gave a US dollar loan for 13.5, because this is in millions, all right? So you see, it looks like 13,000, but you have to add 3 zeros. $13.3 million US dollar loan. So it looks like they took the money from selling our US stock and then pumped the stock into Bahamas Power and Light. You see? And so also, if you look here, they also gave loans to the Ministry of Environmental Health. That's 9.8 million, 11 million to the Water and Sewage Company. All right. It was 10.3 million by the end of 2020, but also the Bahamas Development Bank, $1.3 million, and the BCB, Bahamas Broadcasting Corporation, that's ZNS, etc., $3.4 million. All right. And so our money it seems like it's being shifted around. And this is problematic.
And mortgaging the future of Bahamians is with those, what they call diminishing returns. You're not going to get a negative return for that, or no return whatsoever. The opposite end of that is what you're missing out on in putting that money to work and better use. These are all catastrophic decisions.
Wow. Wow. And so, Nassau Development Company Education Loan Program. I see $15 million there, right here for those who are watching. $15 million to Bahamas Education Loan Bond. Then there was another one for $9.8 million. Then another one for $20.2 million. And so that's $45 million that they took from our national insurance to do that. And so it seems like our national insurance is being plucked at. And because they're squandering the money on other things that we will not really benefit from. Society can benefit from education and building clinics. Society could benefit from building a clinic. You must admit. But the problem comes in when you have a pension fund like NIB that when you want to claim, now that some of us are getting older, they're saying, oh, you can't collect at 60 anymore. We're raising to 65. Then when those people get up in age, oh, we're not giving you at 65 anymore. Wait 2 years and pay for another 2 years, and you get it at 67. This sounds more and more like a Ponzi scheme.
If you overlay these decisions in a real business, a private company, that company would be heading for bankruptcy.
Wow. And so the real issue of bankruptcy is not what they take in and what they pay out. The real issue is that they're not doing what insurance companies are supposed to do, and that is invest the money so that you have the money to pay persons out when it's time. So this argument of we're not collecting enough money to pay out, that doesn't hold water from a real financial standpoint, in your opinion?
Yeah, it could be true. If that the funds is growing, you'd be accomplishing a dual goal. Number one is making the fund solvent for years to come, and also reducing the burden on people for increasing premiums.
Okay, so just to make sure that makes sense to the general public out there, we're going to show them exactly what the numbers are. All right. And so in 2020, when they said they needed this and needed that, here's what the payout was. Retirement benefits. They paid out $30 million or $29 million for retirement benefits. That's all they need for retirement benefits. Just $29 million. And only increased by $2 million. Well, less than $2 million, because it increased by a little over $1 million from 2019, the retirement benefit. So don't say that more people are retiring and they're living longer and getting older, so you need more money. No, according to these numbers on the screen, that's not really a big jump. Invalidity benefit, it stays the same, about $2.7 million. Survivor's benefit, $5.9 million. And as you add all of these things together, the whole amount of money that they need for payout is $43 million. And so I don't understand what the issue is. What the issue is. If they are investing, if they are investing properly in real stocks like other countries do, instead of just taking the money and shuffling it in the Bahamas, then we wouldn't have these problems that we are having.
These problems compound over time unless some changes are made to that sort of approach, and the disregard for the benefit of the Bahamian people and growing that fund. Total disregard for that. You don't take money that is for public use and for the security of people who are in retirement who depend on that money and not invest it with somebody who's knowledgeable where it can grow and where you can manage the risk effectively. I think the evidence that there's been mismanagement, gross mismanagement, is the fact of what they have not done, and also what they did in terms of selling all those high quality positions that recovered in about a year and went to all-time highs after they sold it off.
Wow. And so what we're looking at on screen now, it shows the difference between the Bahamian investments, which means it seems that they're taking from the U.S. and putting in Bahamian companies, all the stuff that we saw. It says that it's only 9% of the investment is international. Only 9% is investment in these good stocks is making money for everyone around the world. And 91% of the investment is based right here in the Bahamas. And also for this COVID period, they're saying that the benefits increase, and that's because they were giving people payouts and making sure that persons who were not working were getting some form of salary, etc. It was $94 million. All right, they paid people out for food. They were giving out $20 checks, if you can believe that. $20 checks, and some checks were even smaller. But their additional that they needed was $94.3 million. But surprise, surprise, the IDB gave the Bahamas a loan for $250 million. All we had to do was account for the money. And so where did this money really go is the question that we need to ask everybody. All right. And so our total contribution, the money we made from contributions in 2019 was $287 million. The money we made from contributions in 2020, when everything was locked down, was $226 million. All right. They only made $45 million in investment income. And this is where the problem is. They made $68 million invested income the year before. And so what we need is clearly better investments.
This only gets worse, Lincoln, over time, unless there's some reversals in how they invest that money in high quality stocks, wherever that might be, and get someone who knows what they're doing, who understands markets, to be able to do that effectively for them. Right now, the clock is ticking, and this doesn't get better for you until those changes are made.
Wow. So I just want to hang on with you. We got like 26 more minutes for this show. I want you to hang on. I'm going to open the phone lines. For persons who want to ask questions, I think we'll use this phone line here. 803-5995 is the number. That's a regular number. 803-5995 is the number if you want to call in. And we put it up on the screen for those online. But 803-5995. All right, I'll repeat it a couple of times during the show. 803-5995. You have another number?
376-9234.
376-9234 also. 376-9234. All right, so you can call any of those numbers on the 803-5995. You
376-9234.
And 376. Okay, the phone line's just going off already.
I've got a question first and foremost for Mr. Green.
Okay.
Mr. Green, are you there? What I'm thinking is that you talked about a number of investments that happened in the previous part of the government earlier before this particular government took over. This is the PLP government now that took over. During the time of the Free National Movement government, some things happened that were ill-advised for the most part. And I'm wondering, what kind of investments are you supposing that they would and should have been doing to shore up the kind of investment portfolio that we need to have in the Bahamas? Because you made mention of about 21% thereabouts being done locally or internationally, and only most of that percentage of investments were done locally in local investments. But what kind of stocks, what kind of things that they should have been investing in, and call the names of them, because basically we're getting the short end of the stick here. And I'm afraid that we're going to continue to get the short end of the stick if, in fact, we can't make the kind of solid investments that's going to be lucrative in the long run to shore up the fund that we need to have to make sure that we have monies in national health, national National Insurance Board. We cannot shore up enough funds if we can't make the proper investments for that particular board. What say you on that particular matter? The kind of investments that we ought to have been doing, the kind of investments that we should be doing right now to make it very, very, a good thing for the Bahamas.
That comes from market expertise. They had the right start, but they were underfunded in the right investments, the ones that they sold off. Some of them were great investments. If they held them, they would have been much higher than they were then when they sold them, obviously. But um, you have to focus on where the market is. And
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, that's where expertise comes in, and a management company who knows what they're doing and how the market cycles work, so that money's not static. You don't park it somewhere and leave it there. You don't go in and make decisions that are irrational with changes, but you do have to understand where the market is going and be positioned in those stocks and bonds, perhaps, that are poised to benefit going forward. Right now, if I were to advise the government or anyone for that matter where they should be parking cash, it would be in small cap stocks here in the US. Why? Because even though we're at all-time highs in the US market right now, the leadership has been the large cap stocks. Those are the less risky ones, the more fast growth stocks, but the other ones have been unappreciated. They've been neglected through this process. They haven't gone up very much. So if you're making a decision today where to place your money in order to be in the right positions going forward, that would be in the small cap sector. And remember, this evolves over time with the markets. So if you understand how market cycles go and you have the expertise in changing market conditions, then you know where to park that money. And that goes for both buying and selling. You don't buy gold forever. At some point in time, you may want to either reduce the size of that position and look for other opportunities, or as in this case right now, is to increase opportunities in areas that has not appreciated as much as some of the other sectors. So it's not a simple answer to where you should park your money. That decision changes with time, but you have to have the expertise in order to know how to take advantage and maximize those changing conditions.
Are you or any of your clients invested in any of those stocks that we pulled out of, that we dumped?
Yes, many of them still, including me, by the way. But some of them are glaring missteps. For example, the biggest one would be NVIDIA. Everybody in the world knows about NVIDIA. And
I'm invested in NVIDIA.
The last 2 years. And it's been plastered across the universe about how this stock is leading all other stocks. If you're not a part of NVIDIA right now, your money manager, you're grossly underperforming the market. So it's not just NVIDIA. It's a cohort of very strong, successful stocks. I talk about this every week in the presentation that I do. But there are many. But NVIDIA is the clear leader. And if you're not NVIDIA, you've been asleep for the last 2 years.
Yeah. I'm heavy in on NVIDIA, and that's because a lot of people don't know NVIDIA is behind AI. And so the AI revolution you've been seeing, NVIDIA is really the foundation of that. Let's go to the first caller. Caller number one, you're live.
Good day, how you doing?
Awesome, man.
All right, good day. Yes, good day, Bahamas. I got a question. I want to know all these shady deals, all these alleged shady deals by our politicians and past prime ministers. Is there a way that they could pay these monies back if proven what has happened is true?
The answer is yes. Any deal that shows any kind of corruption, it's a proceeds of crime, and so you can do certain things. I don't want to tip our hand and show exactly what we're going to be doing, but I can assure you that we're going to go after everything that belongs to Bahamian people. It doesn't matter where they hide it in the world. We've already started searching, and we know where some things are being hidden. We see some shell companies in the United Kingdom. We see some things happening in other countries, and we're going to go after the people's funds wherever it's hidden.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Let's go to caller number 2. Caller number 3, go ahead. Yes, you're live.
Yes, Sabine, first of all, I want to thank you for your sticking to the issues with regards to this NIB saga, because a lot of people in the country are suffering from the service, the pullback between both governments. I want to thank you for bringing on your panelists because I'm literally like filming right now. What I would like to know with the NIB, now that you've explained it and now that we've seen how our monies have been squandered, can you say how long? Because I need a timeline personally to say how long. I know we've only had two governments in charge of the whole country, so we know that. But how long you think the NIB has been misused, misguided, and misconducted like this? I just want to know that for my reference.
Well, I can tell you that in another live, a previous live, we actually showed all of the everything with NIB. I only have an hour and a half show today, so I can't go over everything.
Yeah.
But we showed how they started using the money for clinics and that kind of stuff that was not gonna help us get our pension when it was time. And then we showed where they would account for the money, how much came in, how much went out, and it would always be a jump. And it went from starting from about 70 something million to over $1 billion. This reserve that we had, it was jumping until it seems like Ingram and them started touching it, and then they stopped accounting at one point for what was going on. And we saw where they were doing crazy things like buying derelict buildings, mansions, etc. We got a court case going on with that right now with a specific family. We showed persons that why would NIB be buying derelict mansions, and they reported to us saying that they were gonna renovate them. That was their big response to us, and so they couldn't deny it. They said they spent $6.6 million on them. That's our money, all right. And so now because of these bad decisions, and I have their return letter on the screen right now. Because of their bad decisions, we were left to suffer, all right. And so we are going to go after everything that belongs to Bahamian people, and we need real investments because we don't even need to be benefiting from our natural resources with these people touching up the money like they're doing.
Yes. So, well, thank you again for your stern focus, channel vision on the issues.
Thank you too, man. All right, thank you. Go to another caller. 803-5995 is a number. I can't remember the other one.
376-9234.
376-9234. All right. Caller, you live.
Yeah, later.
Awesome, man.
Okay, your information is very informative, and I've been listening to it. But I don't know, a model governance is the dynamics is so crazy because I know the model philosophy, government leaders tend to see things a little different.
Yes.
Do you think you have any idea why they would do the investment they did? I mean, because everyone would have their own legit in what they're thinking. And I heard the gentleman who spoke very well, he explained very well on that. Why would people go in this direction? If you can speak to that, maybe you can't, because I mean, of course, you probably don't know. But being leaders and looking at things and seeing the full picture, like you talk about what the IDP gives and all the funds, why would the decision be what it is to invest and then withdraw the way they did? Do you have any reason for that?
Well, basically, it's a piggy bank that is sitting there with almost with very little accountability and oversight in terms of who can touch this money. Thanks for your call. For who can touch this money, and so I can't directly speak for why Michael Pintard and Hubert Minnis would do what they did at that time. Yes, and I called both of their names because there was collective responsibility in cabinet. And so I can't speak for why they would do this or allow this to happen, why they would keep this secret from the Bahamian public all this time. And it seems like the money was taken and used for other shady things. So it doesn't seem like it was taken for anything to do with COVID, based on what I'm seeing, because we see the loan to BPL there in US dollars. All right. Why would you do that if you're lending them money from NIB? We see all sorts of shady things that's happening. I can't speak for why they do this, except for corruption. those mansions and other things that we exposed prior to this, you go back and look at the video on my page. You will see where certain politicians had connections to certain properties that were seemed to have been bought back in the day. And so why are you buying properties that have certain connections? All right. And so all of this is corruption. And this is what we have to really get rid of. Let's go back to the phone lines. Good afternoon. You're live.
Well, good afternoon, Lincoln.
How you doing?
And to your financial expert. Can you imagine, both of you, if in 2017 we had dropped that 20 million in Bitcoin?
Wow.
Like El Salvador did. I went on Guardian Radio. I see the expert grinning. Can you imagine? El Salvador took the risk. In 2017, Bitcoin was $3,000 a coin. Today, you're looking at over 60. We could have taken that. I mean, because 20 million is no money compared to the couple $billion we have on reserves. I said at the time we should have taken 100 million and thrown it at BTC. You know, it's a gamble, but it's a better gamble than the one they took. And I cannot believe even somebody who's entry level, speaking to your expert now, even someone who's entry level knows that you buy low and sell high. I mean, that's just, you can pick a Wall Street Joneser and he could tell you that. So the fact that they sold when it dropped has my jaw dropping. I mean, and I see him nodding his head because it just makes no sense. I mean, but what I'm hearing from you now is we sold global tangible stocks and we dumped it in what they consider a third world country, small businesses that are super high risk compared to where we had the money parked. And I see the expert nodding his head because my family has been in financial services from 1948. So when I speak to the people that we've had there and they tell me certain things, I almost, it gives me sharp chest pains, Lincoln, because if we had dropped that 20 million in BTC, we would have had hundreds and hundreds of millions today. It's sick. It's sad what we've allowed to happen. And there should be a class action lawsuit for what they did to our pension money. This is unacceptable.
It's unforgivable.
Yeah, unbelievable and unthinkable, as a former prime minister said.
Wow.
And so if this is the type of mismanagement, and now, and like your expert said, we're going to have to wait till what, we're 80 years old at some point, because they're going to keep raising before I can get my NIB. And you see France, they had almost a meltdown because they wanted to increase it by just 2 years.
Yeah.
They could increase us by 10 years, so you'd have to be 80 or 90 to get your pension. And on top of that, we're having to pay an increase on the NIB. Now, I think there should be some serious, I don't want to say court, but we should have some serious inquiries as to who did and why they did. But I'll leave you all. I'm enjoying this. And, we could have been the world's first crypto country. But I'll leave you both with this. We still have the opportunity, even El Salvador did it 4 years after I recommended it, we could turn Freeport into the world's first carbon neutral crypto city using our sun to run all of the equipment needed to do so. But you guys have a good one. You're right on point, both of you today.
Hold on, don't go yet, Graham. It's coming. We're going to have all that once Bahamians vote for something different. They may choose to keep going with the PLP and FNM and going backwards. But I wanted to answer your question. If we had invested $20 million in Bitcoin when it was worth $3,000, that $3,000 would be worth $426,666,667 today, so at a price of $64,000 in Bitcoin.
So that's half. We would have taken $3,000 a coin to 60. We would have taken that 20 million up to $500 million.
Yes.
Is that enough to build 2 world-class hospitals in the country?
Yes, it is.
I got to go, man, because you can cause me cry. Both of you all have a good one.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
There's a a possible positive outcome. First, you identified what the problem is, but there's still time. There's still a huge window open for this super cycle in AI and high quality stocks. So it's not over. You've missed out on a big move over the last year and a half, but we're talking about a secular move in the markets now, where there are going to be many companies that continue to benefit from AI and will continue to grow, adding substantial wealth to those who invest in it. So the story's not over. It is just that it's already begun.
Wow. And I want to say that, moving forward into the future, we're taking the Bahamas from a country depending on taxes, because every year they just keep increasing taxes on us because nothing is adding up and nothing is making sense. And we're going to take us to a country that benefits, one, from our natural resources. And because as a country, they have kept us unsophisticated as it relates to investments and these kinds of things. They tell us that everything is impossible. But we're going to benefit from our natural resources as a country. We're going to benefit from our carbon credits. And we're going to go into investments. And of course, we have lots of friends like you and others who are going to be advising on these things. We believe that the Bahamas should be in the cruise ship business. All right. We shouldn't just be an advertisement company for hotels and cruise ships. We should be in that business as a country. Not that the government will run it, but we will allow every Bahamian to have shares in there, every Bahamian to buy shares in there also, and we will go into the cruise ship industry. Let me get this other caller, and then I'll continue with that. Good afternoon, you're live.
Yes, I'm Lincoln.
Yes.
What I want to find out is, does the Bahamas government have any regulations that govern how and income from NIV should be invested? I mean, all this money coming in, taking that, put it in all this foolishness, and nobody watching anything.
See, the problem isn't regulations, the problem isn't the gate. The problem is the gatekeepers. All right. You could have as much good gate as you want with a good lock, but if the person you have keeping the gate is corrupt, he's gonna do what he wants with that gate. And that's what the Bahamas problem is. We have all the laws. We have the anti-money laundering laws. We have the anti-corruption laws. We have all these laws, The problem is we keep putting in corrupt politicians who are only looking out for them and their political backers. All right, they're financial backers. And so this is where our problem comes in. You see? So remember, there's procurement laws that the government came and admitted we're not following that law. And they said we're going to eventually change it, so we don't care. We're not going to follow it. They should follow it until the law is changed. But instead, they are doing what it is that they like. But there are a lot of foreign investors, I can tell you, that are fed up with what they've been experiencing with the government. And they are willing to finance another party because they've seen the corruption in the PLP and FNM. They have investments here in this country, and they are tired. They are fed up, and they feel that the PLP and FNM should go. And guess what? They don't want nothing in return. They just want a Bahamas where there's no one begging them for money under the table, where they can do their investments and they can live in this country like everybody else. And you're going to see a serious shift in the Bahamas very soon. Thanks for your call, man.
Before I go,
Online call,
let me be a little more specific in the question that let's say certain retirement funds, there are things laid out there, things laid out that the fund investor could do uncertain things they cannot do. There are certain investments that they could be involved in, and certain investments they cannot be involved with. My question is, there is nothing like that at all.
The only rule that I've seen is that they're not allowed to invest more than $25 million in foreign stocks, which is utterly ridiculous. That's a rule, all right? And also the big problem is what we said in the beginning. We should not have the board who is supposed to be running NIB, also the persons responsible for investing our money. We should hire a professional investment firm to do that, not those persons who are working on the board. That is not a best practice.
Wow.
Thanks for your call, man. We're running out of time.
Okay, thank you.
Got another call on the line. Call you live.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Ben?
I'm awesome, man. How you doing?
It's Conkalay Conkalay.
Hey, Conkalay.
Man, listen, I had to call it a show. I'm truly appreciative of all the stuff that you're doing, educating the Bahamian people. But the Bahamian people really got to understand they've been moved for a very, very long time. And they know their country. It ain't like they don't know their country. They have to understand two things. They are the government, and only them can change the country. Mm-hmm. If they don't make up their mind that they want to change the country's never going to change. First, they got to change themselves before they change the country. They got to change themselves. They can't sit down and think, well, I'm going to give the power to this particular political organization, and this particular organization is going to fix the problems. The reason why I can say all of this, Mr. Ben, the first time I cast my ballot was inside 1982. You see the day is now? It's 2024. If I didn't wake up, I wouldn't be speaking the way I is. I realize that I am the boss. This is my country, and I fight for my country. Until the Bahamian people realize that they have to fix their country, there's nothing you, me, or no one can do. The Bahamian people got to understand that they are the boss. If they want this country changed,
yeah,
they change it. That's all
I want to let
everybody know.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Listen to my response. I hear there's a trendy talk around that we are the government, that the people are the government, and that's what people are saying now. I actually don't agree with that. I understand what they're saying by it, but I don't agree that we're not the government. The government, to govern means to manage. All right, we're not the managers. We hire managers. We're the royalty. We're the owners. All right, and we hire the managers to manage. But the managers carry on like they are the bosses. They carry on like they are the owners. And that's where the problem come in. A governor is a manager. All right. The government are our employees. That's who they are. All right. We are royalty. I want you to understand that I've been preaching this for a long time. We are to be treated like royalty. When you go in the Middle East, those people that you think are some kind of royalty, no, they're regular citizens. That's just how they're treated in their own country. I'm tired of Bahamians being abused in this country. I'm tired of it. And this is coming in short order, Bahamas, where we will be the royalty. And what makes you royalty? When you collect royalties. And that is why we want to collect royalties from our natural resources, our carbon credits, and everything else. And this is what we're fighting for. Mr. Green, I want to thank you for spending this time with us, for your expert advice. We're going to be leaning on you and others in terms of setting up our companies and putting a plan forward for the Bahamian people to be able to see that we can own a cruise line in this country. We can go in the shipping industry instead of just hiring ships. We can have a country where we own solar farms and we provide solar to our neighboring countries. That we can do these things, and it's very possible. It's actually possible now without our natural resources and carbon credits. We just need to have a government that knows when and where to use their funds. And this NIB debacle, it clearly shows that we don't have persons in place who know what to do. Any last words based on everything that we've said today?
No, I thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure to be able to share some of my thoughts with you. I'm with you. I really enjoy my time in Bahamas. I think you're part of my extended family there. You're great people and deserve more than what you're getting.
Wow. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for being here. And we look forward to having more conversations. We want to have a conversation about our carbon credits. So we're going to we want to have a real conversation about that to let people know about that. And we want a real financial expert to be able to have this conversation with us about, how that works and what's going on. So we appreciate you. We're going to have more conversations with you moving forward and other experts moving forward. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, God bless.
All right. And with that, we're going to wrap up, ladies and gentlemen. Almost on time. Ladies and gentlemen, this show is going to be broadcast live right here every single week. And we want you to know, don't blame Steve for nothing I say or do. This show and the opinions expressed on this show has nothing to do with Steve McKinney. We bought out this block. And so this is our block. This has nothing to do with his station. We bought this entire block. And so if you want to advertise on this, you can get in touch with me also, 803-5995. And you can have persons here about your business, your company, et cetera, et cetera. And so we bought out this block on Steve's station, and we're going to be here every single week because we are putting this to the next level. And I want to thank Steve for graciously hosting us. We could have gone to any station to do what we're doing, but we chose to go with Steve because we believe that he wants to see a new Bahamas, and he's not, going to sell out like other media companies. So, ladies and gentlemen, help us make this affordable by assisting us in doing this. We also want to ask you to continue to support the movement. If you're online, you can see the links and the QR codes is going. But you can go to our website and you can work with us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. This is Lincoln Bain Live. We're going to see you again next week, Sunday at 5 p.m. right here on Peace 107.5 and all over social media.
You've been listening to Lincoln Being Live right here from Peace 107.5. We're located on Gibbs Lane in Fort Charlotte. If you want to be a part of something like this, just make a call to Peace 107.5. That's 376-9234. And you too can be a part of this kind of togetherness. It's been our pleasure to bring you Lincoln Being Live on this Sunday. We appreciate your thoughts and we appreciate your comments. We thank you so much for them.